Hey, how did you sleep last night? If you're a fan of scary stories to fall asleep to, you've found the right place. Welcome to Midnight Lullaby. A like and a subscribe means a lot to this channel, and make sure we will meet again. Also, let me know in the comments where in the world you're listening from. Now, turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let the story carry you into dreams. Story 1. My name is Marcus Webb, and I've been driving trucks for 23 years. I've crossed every state in the lower 40, 8, logged over 2 million miles, and seen things on America's highways that most people wouldn't believe. I've witnessed accidents, helped stranded motorists, pulled over for countless hitchhikers against company policy. The road teaches you things about humanity, both its beauty and its darkness. But nothing prepared me for what I found at mile marker 189 on Interstate 70. I'm writing this account while it's still fresh in my mind, while the details are sharp and the weight of what I did, what I had to do, is still pressing down on my chest like a physical thing. I don't expect forgiveness. I'm not even sure I want it. But someone needs to know what happened out there, what's been happening for God knows how long. It started on a Tuesday evening in late October. I was hauling electronics from Denver to Kansas City, running the night shift like I usually do. The roads are emptier after dark, and I've always preferred the solitude of nighttime driving. Just me, the truck, and the endless ribbon of highway unwinding in my headlights. I'd passed through this stretch of I-70 dozens of times before. It's lonely country in eastern Colorado, flat and featureless, with nothing but cattle ranches and the occasional small town breaking up the monotony. Mile marker 189 sits in the middle of nowhere, about 40 miles from the nearest real civilization. That's where I saw her for the first time. A young woman, maybe 25, standing next to a white sedan with its hood up. She was waving her arms, flagging down traffic. The universal signal for, I need help. I should have stopped. My instinct said stop. But something else, some deeper awareness honed by 2 decades on the road, made me slow down instead, take a good look, and keep going. She was too perfectly positioned, too well lit by her car's hazard lights. And her expression. I only glimpsed it for a second as I passed, but it was wrong. Not frightened or frustrated, like you'd expect from someone with car trouble. More like bored. Like she was acting a part she'd performed before. I logged it in my mental file of weird things on the highway and moved on. Kansas City was still 6 hours away, and I needed to make my delivery window. 3 weeks later, I came back through on the return road. Different day, different time. Early morning this time, just past dawn. And there she was again. Mile marker 189. White sedan, hood up. Young woman flagging down traffic. Except it wasn't the same woman. Similar build, similar age, but different face, different hair color. Same pose though. Same positioning. Same expression of practiced distress. This time I did pull over, but I stayed in my cab with the engine running. I grabbed my CB radio and hailed the woman. She approached the passenger side of my truck, looking up with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Thank God, she called up. I've been stuck here for an hour. Battery died and my phone's got no signal. Could you give me a jump? What happened to the other girl? I asked. Her smile faltered. What other girl? The one who was broken down at this exact spot 3 weeks ago. Different car, same problem, same location. That's quite a coincidence. She took a step back from my truck. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, I said. I didn't think you would. I put the truck in gear and pulled away, watching her in my mirrors. She stood there watching me go, no longer pretending distress. Just standing, arms at her sides, perfectly still. I should have called the state police. I should have reported it right then. But report what exactly? A woman pretending to have car trouble. That's not a crime. And I had no proof, just a feeling and a coincidence that might not even be connected. I let it go. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. A month later, I came through again. Late afternoon this time. And sure enough, mile marker 189, white sedan, hood up. Different woman again, third one now. This one was blonde, younger than the others, wearing a college sweatshirt. This time I didn't stop. I slowed down, pulled out my phone, and snapped a photo as I passed. Then I drove to the next town and pulled into a truck stop to examine what I'd captured. The photo was clear. The woman, the car, the marker. But there was something in the background I hadn't noticed while driving. A large RV parked about 100 yards off the highway, partially hidden by a slight rise in the terrain. I zoomed in on the RV. I could just make out figures near it, people watching the road. That's when I knew this wasn't random. This was organized, and that changed everything. I spent the next week doing research at various truck stops along my route. I talked to other drivers, asked if they'd seen anything strange at mile marker 189. Most hadn't noticed anything. But one older driver, a guy named Pete who'd been hauling for 30 years, remembered something. I stopped there once, maybe 6 months ago. He told me over coffee at a Flying J in Salina. Pretty girl, car trouble, asked me for help. I was about to get out when I noticed her keep looking over her shoulder, back toward the trees. Made me nervous. So I told her I'd call a tow truck for her and drove off. Did you call one? Yeah. They said when they got there, nobody was around. No car, no girl. That happened to you anywhere else? Other mile markers? He thought about it. Now that you mention it, yeah. Mile marker 203 on I-25 in New Mexico. Same setup, girl, broken down car, middle of nowhere. Felt wrong there too, so I didn't stop. I talked to 3 more drivers over the next few days. Each one had a similar story. Different highways, different states, but the same pattern, isolated location, attractive woman, car trouble, something feeling off about the whole situation. This was bigger than I thought, and it had been going on for a long time. I'm a veteran, did 2 tours in Afghanistan before I started driving trucks. The military taught me things, how to recognize threats, how to observe without being observed, how to handle situations when they go sideways. Those skills had mostly gone dormant in civilian life, but they came back now as I started planning. I needed to know what was happening at mile marker 189. But more than that, I needed to stop it if it was what I suspected. On my next trip through, I came prepared. I arrived at mile marker 189 in the early afternoon, but instead of passing by, I pulled off at the exit 2 miles up the road. I changed into dark civilian clothes, grabbed the go, bag I always kept in my cab's old military habit, and hiked back through the scrubland parallel to the highway. It took me 40 minutes to get in position on the ridge overlooking mile marker 189. I had binoculars, a canteen, and enough patience to wait for however long it took. The white sedan was already in position, hood up. A woman I hadn't seen before stood beside it. Dark-haired, maybe 30, wearing jeans and a fitted jacket. She checked her phone periodically, but her attention was on the highway. The RV I'd seen in my photo was parked in the same spot, about 70 yards from the road. I could see 2 men moving around it. One was setting up camera equipment on a tripod. The other was doing something with what looked like computer equipment inside the RV. I watched for 3 hours. 7 vehicles passed by during that time. 4 didn't slow down, 3 did. 2 passenger cars and 1 pickup truck. The first car that stopped was a family. Man, woman, 2 kids in the back. The woman got out to talk to the stranded woman while the man stayed in the driver's seat. After a brief conversation, the family drove away. The stranded woman waved pleasantly, then checked her phone again. The second car was driven by an elderly couple. Same scenario, brief conversation, then they left. The pickup truck was different. The driver was a man in his 40s alone. He pulled over and got out immediately, walking to the stranded woman with what looked like genuine concern. They talked. He walked to her car, looked under the hood. They talked more. That's when I saw the 2 men from the RV move. They approached through the scrubland, coming up from an angle the truck driver couldn't see. Both were carrying something, not guns, but something else. Tasers, I realized. The truck driver never saw them coming. One moment he was leaning over the engine, the next he was on the ground, convulsing. The woman who'd been playing distressed motorist was suddenly all business, helping the 2 men drag the unconscious driver toward the RV. They moved fast, efficient. Within 2 minutes, the man was inside the RV, the woman was back in position by the white sedan, and everything looked normal again. Except for the pickup truck, now abandoned at the roadside. I watched the 2 men return to the RV. Through my binoculars, I could see into the windows. They were setting up more cameras inside, positioning them to face something. I couldn't see what, but I could guess. They were going to film what they did to that truck driver. I had a choice to make. Call the police and hope they arrived in time, but risk tipping off the kidnappers who might kill their victim and flee. Or handle it myself, using skills I hadn't deployed in over a decade. I chose the latter. Maybe that makes me a vigilante. Maybe it makes me a criminal. But I'd seen enough in Afghanistan to know that sometimes the right thing and the legal thing aren't the same thing. I circled around the RV, staying low, using the terrain for cover. The sun was starting to set, shadows lengthening across the scrubland. That would help. Up close, I could hear voices from inside the RV. Male voices laughing. The woman was there too, her voice higher, pitched, saying something about the audience. And starting soon. I looked in the window of the white sedan as I passed. Empty, but the ignition had been hot-wired. The car was stolen, probably switched out regularly to avoid detection. The RV's door was locked, but the window next to it wasn't secured properly. Old vehicle, cheap lock. I used my multi-tool to jimmy it open, moving slowly to avoid noise. The interior of the RV was horrifying. The main living area had been converted into a filming studio. Professional cameras, lighting equipment, and computers with multiple monitors. On those monitors, I could see a live feed from a hidden room at the back of the RV. The truck driver was strapped to a chair in that room, still unconscious. But he wouldn't be unconscious for long. I could see stimulant drugs on a tray nearby, ready to wake him up. The computers showed something else, a chat interface with dozens of users logged in. Messages scrolled past. When does it start? I paid for premium access. I want to see everything. Make it last this time. The last one died too quickly. This was a show. They were going to torture this man to death for paying customers, watching via streaming video. I felt something cold settle over me. The same feeling I'd had in combat situations. Emotions shut down, training taking over. 3 people in the RV, 2 men and 1 woman. The men were in the main cabin area, focused on their equipment. The woman had gone to the back, presumably to check on their victim. I climbed through the window silently. The men never heard me. Years of combat experience meant I knew how to move without sound, how to disable threats efficiently. I won't describe the details of what happened next. It's enough to say that both men were unconscious within 15 seconds, and neither had time to raise an alarm. The woman heard something, though. Maybe a sound I couldn't control, maybe just instinct. She came back into the main cabin and saw me standing over her unconscious partners. She ran for the door. I couldn't let her reach it. I caught her at the threshold, my hand clamping over her mouth before she could scream. We struggled. She was strong, desperate, clawing at my face, but I was stronger and trained. When she finally went limp in my arms, I lowered her to the floor and secured her with zip ties from my bag. Then I did the same to the two men. The truck driver was starting to come around. I found him in the back room, strapped to that chair, surrounded by cameras. His eyes were unfocused, terrified. "It's okay," I told him, unbuckling the restraints. "You're safe now. I'm getting you out of here." He couldn't speak, couldn't move properly. Whatever they'd hit him with was still affecting his nervous system. I helped him to his feet and guided him out of the RV. That's when I saw the full scope of their operation. In a storage compartment underneath the RV, I found equipment for body disposal, plastic sheeting, chemicals, tools I recognized from my time handling casualties in the military. And I found records, printed screenshots and notes detailing previous shows. They'd done this at least 30 times. 30 people, maybe more, lured to isolated locations and tortured to death on camera for paying viewers. The notes included locations of bodies, some buried, some disposed of in other ways, names of victims when they knew them, dates, amounts paid by viewers for specific acts. I stood there in the fading light, holding those records, and felt something break inside me. These three people had built a business around murder. They'd perfected it, systematized it, made it profitable. And they would do it again if I let them go. The truck driver was leaning against his vehicle, slowly regaining his faculties. He looked at me with dawning horror as he started to understand what had almost happened to him. I told him, "Drive away. Don't stop until you reach the next town. Don't talk to anyone about this. Do you understand?" He nodded, mute with shock, and climbed into his truck. I watched him drive away, taillights disappearing into the dusk. Then I went back to the RV. The woman was awake now, eyes wide above the gag I'd secured over her mouth. The two men were still unconscious. I sat down in front of them and began looking through their computers. The streaming service was still running, dozens of users still logged in, waiting for their show to start. Messages kept scrolling. "What's the delay? I want a refund if this doesn't happen. Show us the merchandise." I felt sick. These weren't usernames. They were real people sitting in homes and offices around the world, waiting to watch someone die. I found the administrator controls and started capturing data. IP addresses, payment information, user profiles. Everything that might help authorities track down these viewers. Then I found something else, a list of other locations, other teams. This wasn't just three people operating at mile marker 199. This was a network, multiple groups in multiple states, all running similar operations, all connected through the same streaming service. Mile marker 203 in New Mexico, where that other driver had seen something suspicious. Mile marker 76 in Utah. Mile marker 142 in Nevada. 6 locations total, maybe more. This was organized crime on a scale I hadn't imagined. And these three people I'd captured were just one small cell. I had another choice to make. I could call the police, turn over everything I'd found, let the justice system handle it. That was the right thing to do. The legal thing. But I'd seen enough corrupt systems in my life to know how this would play. The three people I'd captured would lawyer up, claim they were victims themselves, make deals. The investigation would take years. Some of the network would escape, and the viewers, the people paying for murder, would probably never be caught at all. Or I could end it here, permanently. I'm not a good man. I want you to understand that. I've killed before in combat, following orders, defending my country. But what I did that night wasn't combat. It was execution. I used the equipment they'd prepared for their victim. I used their own cameras to document everything, not for an audience, but for evidence. And I made sure they understood, in their final moments, exactly why this was happening to them. When it was over, I deleted the streaming service data from their servers. Not the backup, though. I copied that to an encrypted drive. Then I used their own disposal protocols, the ones documented in their notes, to handle the aftermath. It took all night. By the time the sun rose over mile marker 189, there was nothing left except a white sedan with a hot-wired ignition and some tire tracks that could have come from any vehicle. I drove away in my truck, back to the routine of my normal road. Kansas City to Denver, Denver to Kansas City, endless miles of highway and ordinary freight. But I wasn't done. Over the next 3 months, I visited each of the other locations I'd found documented. Mile marker 23, mile marker 76, mile marker 142. Same pattern each time, observed, confirm, act. I found 3 more teams. 12 people total, all engaged in the same sick business. Some went easier than others. One team had a victim already captive when I arrived. I got them out, sent them away, handled the rest. I kept the encrypted drive updated with evidence from each location. User data, payment records, communications. Everything that might help authorities shut down the network if I couldn't finish the job myself. The last location was different. Bigger team, better security, more professional operation. I almost didn't make it out. I took a knife wound to the ribs that required stitches I gave myself in a motel bathroom. But I finished what I started. When it was over, when all 6 locations were cleared, I drove to a truck stop in Wyoming and used a public computer to send anonymous packages to 3 different law enforcement agencies. The encrypted drive data, printed records, everything they needed to investigate the streaming service and its users. I don't know if they ever followed up. I don't check the news anymore. I just drive. Mile marker 189 is quiet now when I pass through. No white sedan, no stranded woman, no RV hiding in the scrubland. Just empty highway and cattle ranches stretching to the horizon. Sometimes I think about what I did. About whether it was justice or murder, whether I saved lives or just became another killer. I don't have good answers. But I remember something my commanding officer told me in Afghanistan after a particularly difficult mission. We don't get to choose between good and evil. We get to choose between bad and worse. And sometimes choosing bad is the best we can do. I chose bad. I took lives, violated laws, appointed myself judge and executioner. But I stopped something worse. A network of predators who'd turned murder into entertainment, who'd killed dozens and would have killed dozens more. So I keep driving. Mile after mile, state after state, carrying freight and keeping my secrets. The road doesn't judge. The highway doesn't ask questions. It just stretches on forever, giving space to people like me who can't quite fit into the normal world anymore. If you're reading this, you're probably wondering why I wrote it all down. Why risk documenting what I did? The answer is simple: someone needs to know. Not for my sake. I don't want or expect understanding. But for the victims. The 30 people who died before I stopped it, and the others who might have died if I hadn't acted. They deserve to be remembered. They deserve for someone to know that their deaths weren't meaningless, that someone cared enough to seek justice even when the system failed them. And if someday the authorities figure out what I did, if they track down the man who emptied those locations and left no witnesses, well, I won't run. I'll answer for my actions. I'll accept whatever consequences come. But I won't apologize. Because late at night, when I'm alone in my cab on some dark stretch of highway, I don't see the faces of the people I killed. I see the faces of the people I saved. The truck driver who got to go home to his family. The victim I pulled from that captivity. And all the potential victims who'll never know how close they came to being lured to mile marker 189. That's enough for me. I'll keep driving these highways until I can't anymore. And I'll keep watching, because I know the truth now predators hide in plain sight, in the spaces between towns, in the isolated places where no one's looking. But I'm looking, and if I ever see another white sedan with its hood up, another woman playing distressed motorist, another RV hiding in the scrubland, I'll know what to do. I'll do what I've always done, make the hard choice, live with the consequences, and keep moving forward. Mile after mile, state after state. Forever watching the road. That's my penance. And maybe, in some small way, it's my redemption too. The highway doesn't judge. It just rolls on, taking you wherever you need to go. And I've got a long way left to travel. Story 2. The invitation arrived on a Wednesday in late October, delivered by a courier who refused to meet my eyes. I'm Isabel Crane, 30, 4 years old, and I work in data analysis for a mid-sized pharmaceutical company. I live alone in an apartment in Seattle, have a cat named Ptolemy, and lead what I'd charitably describe as an unremarkable life. So when I opened the cream envelope and read the elegant calligraphy inside, my first instinct was that it must be a mistake. You are cordially invited to attend a dinner gathering at Blackwood Manor on October 31st at 8:00 p.m. Your presence is required. Formal attire requested. Transportation will be provided. No return address. No signature. No explanation of who was inviting me or why. Just a date, a time. And an address in the rural mountains 3 hours from the city. I should have thrown it away. Should have ignored it entirely. But something about the weight of the paper, the precision of the printing, the formal language, it all suggested this was serious, even if I didn't understand why. And there was something else. Looking at that invitation, I felt a strange tug of recognition, as though I'd been waiting for it, without realizing I'd been waiting. I tried to research Blackwood Manor online. The address led to a remote location in the Cascades, but there were no photos, no historical records, no property listings. It was as if the place existed in some blind spot of modern documentation. Against my better judgment, against all reasonable judgment, I decided to go. On October 31st, exactly at 6:00 p.m., a black car pulled up outside my apartment building. The driver, an elderly man in a formal uniform, opened the door without speaking. I climbed in, noting that there were 3 other passengers already seated inside a nervous-looking man in his 50s clutching a briefcase. A young woman with platinum blonde hair staring out the window, and a middle-aged woman with the practiced calm of someone who'd learned to hide anxiety behind a professional mask. None of us spoke during the 3-hour drive. Every time I opened my mouth to introduce myself, the words died in my throat. It was as if we were all operating under some unspoken agreement that silence was safer than conversation. The road wound through increasingly dense forest as darkness fell. No streetlights, no signs of civilization, just endless trees pressing in on both sides. I found myself thinking about horror movies, about every story I'd ever heard of people disappearing in the woods. But still, I didn't ask the driver to turn around. Finally, We turned onto a gravel drive that curved through wrought iron gates. And there, emerging from the darkness like something out of a Gothic novel, stood Blackwood Manor. It was massive. 3 stories of dark stone and steeply pitched roofs, with towers at each corner and windows that glowed with warm light. Beautiful in an unsettling way, like something that had been built to impress and intimidate in equal measure. The car stopped at the entrance. The driver opened our doors, but didn't follow us out. As soon as we'd all exited, he drove away, leaving us standing at the base of the wide stone steps. "Well," said the man with the briefcase, his voice too loud in the quiet. "I guess we should go in." The front door opened before we reached it, revealing a butler, because of course there was a butler, who bowed slightly and gestured us inside. The entrance hall was staggering. Marble floors, a curved staircase that swept up to the second floor, walls covered in dark wood paneling and oil paintings of stern-faced people I didn't recognize. Candelabras provided most of the light, giving everything a flickering, unsteady quality. "Welcome to Blackwood Manor," the butler said in a voice that suggested he'd given this speech many times before. "The other guests have already arrived. If you'll follow me to the dining room." "Other guests?" the blonde woman asked. It was the first time any of us had spoken since entering the car. "There are 9 of you in total," the butler replied. "This way, please." He led us through a series of corridors, each more ornate than the last, until we reached a set of double doors. He pushed them open, revealing a dining room that belonged in a museum. The table was set for 9, with more silverware than I knew how to use and crystal glasses catching the candlelight. Already seated were 5 other people, a young man with tattoo sleeves and a defiant expression, an older gentleman who could have been a retired professor, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit, a woman in her 30s wearing a velvet dress, and a teenager who looked barely old enough to drive. We took our seats, bringing the total to 9. Still, no one spoke. We just looked at each other across the elaborate place settings, each waiting for someone else to break the uncomfortable silence. Finally, the butler poured wine into our glasses and announced, "Dinner will be served shortly. In the meantime, please enjoy your drinks." He left, closing the doors behind him. "Okay," said the tattooed young man. "What the hell is this? Anyone actually know why we're here?" We all shook our heads. I noticed that despite our different ages and apparent backgrounds, we all had the same confused, slightly frightened expression. "I got an invitation," the older gentleman said. "Very formal. No explanation." "Same," several of us murmured. "Has anyone been here before?" asked the professional woman who'd been in my car. "Does this place seem familiar to any of you?" That was when I noticed it. That tug of recognition I'd felt when reading the invitation, but stronger now. Something about this room, this house, felt known. Not like I'd been here before exactly, but like I'd dreamed about it. Like it existed in some part of my memory I couldn't quite access. From the looks on the others' faces, they felt it too. The doors opened again, and servers brought out the first course. As we ate, conversation gradually began, tentative, careful, but genuine. We introduced ourselves. The tattooed young man was Ryan, a mechanic from Portland. The older gentleman was Dr. Edmund Harper, recently retired from teaching philosophy. The businessman was Marcus, who worked in real estate development. The woman in velvet was Sophia, an artist. The teenager was Lucas, a high school senior. The professional woman from my car was Diana, a lawyer. The nervous man with the briefcase was Robert, an accountant. The blonde woman was Natalie, who described herself as between careers. And me, Isabel, data analyst, leading my unremarkable life. So none of us know the host. Marcus asked as the second course arrived. That's bizarre, even by rich person standards. You don't invite 9 strangers to a dinner party in a remote mansion without explanation. Unless the explanation is part of the evening. Sophia suggested. Maybe it's some kind of immersive experience, like those mystery dinner theaters. It was a comforting thought, and we clung to it as we continued eating. The food was excellent, each course more elaborate than the last. The wine flowed freely, and gradually the atmosphere shifted from tense to almost pleasant. We laughed, told stories, discovered odd connections between us. Ryan and Lucas both loved the same obscure video game. Diana and I had gone to rival high schools. Dr. Harper and Sophia had both spent time in Florence. It felt, against all odds, like a successful dinner party. Then, between the 5th and 6th courses, Robert collapsed. One moment he was reaching for his wine glass, the next he was face down on the table, convulsing. We jumped up, shouting for help, for the butler, for anyone. Dr. Harper rushed to check his pulse while Diana tried to perform CPR. But within minutes, Robert was dead. We stood in shocked silence, staring at his body. Diana's hands were shaking. Lucas was crying quietly. Ryan kept saying, "What the fuck," under his breath like a mantra. "We need to call the police," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. Then he frowned. No signal. We all checked. None of us had signal, even though we'd all had full bars when we arrived. "The butler," Sophia said. "The staff. They'll have a landline. They'll be able to." She opened the dining room doors. The hallway beyond was empty and dark. "Hello," she called. "We need help. There's been an accident." Nothing. No response. No sound of footsteps or movement anywhere in the vast house. We searched together, staying in a group, calling out as we went. But the house was empty. No staff, no butler, no host. Just us and Robert's body in the dining room, and the growing sense that something was very, very wrong. "The cars," Ryan said. "We can take the cars, drive back to civilization, get help." We ran to the entrance. The circular driveway was empty, no cars, no vehicle of any kind. "They left us here," Natalie whispered. "They brought us here and left us. With a dead body," Lucas added, his voice breaking. We went back inside, locked the doors, and returned to the dining room. Someone, Dr. Harper, I think, suggested we stay together. That splitting up would be dangerous. We all agreed. Even though the dining room now contained Robert's corpse and the remains of our interrupted dinner.
"What do we do?"
I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Do we just wait for morning? Try to walk out? It's 20 miles through mountain forest in the dark," Diana said. "Would never make it. Better to wait for dawn, then send a group." So we waited, and we talked, because the alternative was sitting in silence with a dead man, and that was unbearable. That's when we started noticing the other strange things. "Has anyone else been in this room before?" Sophia asked suddenly. "Not this house, I mean, but this specific room." We all looked around. The portraits on the walls, the massive fireplace, the ornate ceiling moldings, it all felt impossibly familiar. "I've dreamed about this room," Lucas said quietly. "I thought it was just because of the invitation, my brain creating images. But no, I've dreamed about this exact room. That portrait there of the woman in blue, she's been in my dreams. The table," Natalie added, "I've seen this table before. 9 place settings. 9 of us. I've dreamed this dinner party." A chill ran through me because I realized she was right. I had dreamed this. Not recently, not consciously remembered, but the images were there in my mind, waiting to be recognized. "This doesn't make sense," Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. "What if..." Dr. Harper's voice was slow, thoughtful, the voice of someone working through a difficult problem. What if we're meant to remember something about this place, about each other? Like what? Ryan demanded. I don't know, but clearly we're all connected somehow. 9 strangers invited to a remote mansion, all experiencing the same sense of familiarity. That's not coincidence. We sat in silence, each of us trying to access those dream memories, trying to pull them into focus. And slowly, fragments began to emerge. A woman, a scream, blood on the floor, and all of us standing in a circle looking down at. Diana gasped, the woman in blue. From the portrait, I know her. I knew her, not now, but before. Before when? I asked. I don't know. But her name was Sarah Mitchell. She worked here at Blackwood Manor. She was. The maid, Sophia finished. She was the maid. Oh God, I remember now. The memories came flooding back then, not all at once, but in terrible waves. This house, years ago. How many years? It felt distant and immediate at the same time. We'd been here before, all 9 of us. Younger, but recognizably us. We'd come for a different dinner party. Invited by someone we all knew, someone we'd all trusted. And something had happened. Something terrible. Sarah discovered something, Dr. Harper said, his face pale. About us. About what we'd done. Lucas asked. But I could see in his eyes that he already knew. We all knew. The memories were crystallizing now, becoming solid and undeniable. 10 years ago. Almost exactly 10 years ago. October 31st at Blackwood Manor. We'd all been here for a Halloween party thrown by someone. I still couldn't quite grasp who the host had been. But we'd been here. We'd been drinking, and Sarah the maid had overheard a conversation she shouldn't have heard. The investment scheme, Marcus said hollowly. She heard us talking about the investment scheme. It came back to me then in horrible detail. Marcus had brought us all together with a business opportunity, a real estate development deal that required initial investment from multiple partners. Except it wasn't real. It was a pyramid scheme carefully constructed to defraud dozens of investors of millions of dollars. And we'd all known. We'd all participated. Some of us had brought in the investors. Some of us had created the false documentation. Some of us had helped launder the money. All of us had profited. She was going to report us, Nathalie whispered. She told us she was going to the authorities. She said she had proof. So we killed her, I said, and the words tasted like poison. We killed her. The memory was complete now. Sarah, cornered in this very dining room, telling us she knew what we'd done. Marcus offering her money to stay quiet. Her refusing. And then we'd all made a choice. Together. Unanimously. We'd put something in her wine. Something that stopped her heart, made it look like natural causes. We'd claimed she'd had a medical emergency during the party. Called an ambulance too late. The investigation had been brief. A tragic accident. A young woman with an undiagnosed heart condition. We'd gotten away with it. We'd taken turns burying the evidence, literally burying it in the forest behind the manor. Then we'd all left, gone back to our separate lives, never spoken of it again. The investment scheme had collapsed eventually, but by then we'd all extracted our profits and moved on. A few people lost money, but nothing that drew serious investigation. And we'd all lived with our secret for 10 years, perhaps forgetting it consciously, but carrying it always in our dreams. But that means... Sophia looked at Robert's body. He was one of us. He was there that night. We all were, Dr. Harper said. All 9 of us. We killed Sarah Mitchell together. And now, 10 years later, we've been brought back here. Who? Ryan demanded. Sarah's dead. We killed her. As if in answer, the candles in the room flickered. Then, one by one, they went out, plunging us into darkness. Someone screamed. I felt hands grabbing for me in the dark, heard the sounds of chairs being knocked over, of panicked movement. Then, as suddenly as they'd gone out, the candles relit themselves. But the room had changed. Robert's body was gone. The table was reset, as though the dinner had never been interrupted. And standing in the corner, barely visible in the candlelight, was a figure in a blue dress. Sarah, or something wearing Sarah's appearance. "You remembered," she said. And her voice was wrong, layered, echoing, coming from somewhere beyond. "Finally, you remembered." We couldn't move, couldn't speak. We just stared at her as she stepped closer, her face shifting between the young woman and the portrait, and something else. Something older, darker, more fundamental. "I've been waiting," she continued. 10 years I've waited for this night. Halloween. The anniversary of my death. The thinning of the veil between worlds. She smiled, but it was a terrible expression. "Did you think you could take my life and just continue? Live your lives, prosper, forget? We're sorry." Deanna said, her voice breaking. "We're so sorry." "Wait, sorry." Sarah's form flickered like a candle flame. "You're sorry because you were caught. Sorry because you're facing consequences. But for 10 years, while I've been trapped here, unable to move on, unable to rest, where was your sorry then? What do you want?" Marcus asked, trying to sound authoritative but failing. "What is this?" "Justice," Sarah said simply. "The kind you denied me. You took my life to protect yourselves, to protect your greed. Now you'll pay the price." "Robert," I said, understanding flooding through me. "You killed Robert." "No." Sarah's smile widened. "Robert killed himself. He died of a heart attack, brought on by the guilt he'd been carrying, by the stress of being here, by the memory of what he'd done. I didn't touch him. I didn't have to. The same will be true of all of you. You brought us here to kill us," Ryan said flatly. "I brought you here to give you what you deserve. What you've always deserved." She moved closer, and I could see now that she wasn't quite solid. The candlelight passed through her in places, like she was made of smoke and memory. "Each of you will die tonight, in this house, and each death will mirror your role in mine." "That's insane," Nathalie said. "You can't. Ghosts can't. This isn't real." But even as she spoke, she began to choke. Her hands went to her throat, her eyes widened in panic. She fell to her knees, gasping, unable to breathe. We rushed to help her, but there was nothing visibly wrong, nothing to dislodge or fix. She just kept choking on air until she collapsed, dead. Natalie convinced me to stay late that night, Sarah said conversationally as we backed away from the body. Told me there would be extra pay for helping clean up, so she dies unable to breathe, as I was unable to breathe when I realized I was dying. "This is murder," Dr. Harper shouted. "You're no better than us." "I'm nothing like you." Sarah's voice turned cold. "I was an innocent woman trying to do the right thing. You're murderers who've lived free for a decade. There's no comparison. Lucas ran for the door, but it wouldn't open. He pulled, twisted, beat on it, but it remained firmly shut. 'Let us out!' he screamed. 'Please, please let us out. The doors will open when the night is over,' Sarah said. 'When justice has been served. Until then, you're guests at my dinner party. Just as I was a guest at yours.' Marcus pulled out his phone again, desperately trying to get a signal. As we watched, the screen flickered, then went dead. 'Battery was at 80%, he said numbly. "Technology can't save you," Sarah told him. "Nothing can save you. This is beyond the reach of your lawyers, your money, your influence. This is judgment." Dr. Harper had been standing very still, his face working through some internal calculation. If we're already dead, he said slowly. If we died 10 years ago in some cosmic sense when we committed murder, then this is hell. We're in hell, not hell, Sarah corrected. Purgatory. A space between. On this one night, when the barriers are thin, I have power here. The power to bring you back, to make you face what you've done. For how long? Sophia asked. How long will you torture us? Until dawn, Sarah replied. When the sun rises, your bodies will be found. 9 people dead at a dinner party of apparent natural causes, just like me. And every year on this night, you'll return. Your spirits will be drawn back here to relive this evening, to die again and again and again. Forever. No, I said, though my voice shook. No, there has to be another way. We made a terrible mistake, but a mistake. Sarah's form solidified, and for a moment she looked entirely human, entirely real. A mistake is an accident. What you did was a choice. You chose your greed over my life. You chose your comfort over my existence. 9 of you, together, made the decision to end me. And now, 9 of you will pay. Sophia was the next to go. She screamed suddenly, backing away from something only she could see. No, no, get away from me. She tripped over her chair, fell hard, and began convulsing. Blood ran from her nose, her ears. Within minutes, she was dead. Sophia created the false contracts, Sarah said. She was so artistic with her forgeries. So she dies with her senses betraying her, seeing horrors that aren't there. 7 of us left. 7 of us huddled together in the center of the room, surrounded by the bodies of our co-conspirators, while Sarah circled us like a patient predator. You can't do this, Diana said, her lawyer instincts taking over despite the terror. There are rules, even in death. Laws of the universe. You can't just. I'm not just. Sarah interrupted. I'm judgment. I'm consequence. I'm the universe correcting itself. You took a life that wasn't yours to take. Now that debt must be paid. Marcus suddenly lunged at her, trying to tackle her, to overpower her through sheer physical force. He passed right through her form and crashed into the wall beyond. When he stood up, his face was pale, his eyes unfocused. I can't feel my legs, he said. Then he collapsed, paralyzed. We watched as his breathing became shallower, slower, until it stopped entirely. Marcus was the architect of the scheme, Sarah said. He built the structure that required my death. So he dies unable to move, unable to escape the consequences of what he built. 6 of us. Then 5, as Lucas aged before our eyes, his young face wrinkling, his hair turning gray then white, his body withering. He became an old man in seconds, then ancient, then simply bones and dust. Lucas was the youngest, Sarah said. He had his whole life ahead of him. He took mine, so I took his. All the years he would have lived, compressed into moments. Ryan tried to fight. He grabbed a chair, swinging it wildly, trying to hit Sarah's form, the walls, anything. He shouted curses, threats, desperate bargains. But his heart gave out mid-swing, and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. Ryan tried to physically stop me that night, Sarah said. His heart was never in it. He was following the group. So his heart stops now. The 4 of us remained: Dr. Harper, Diana, Sophia, and me. Dr. Harper had been silent for several minutes, his face serene in a way that frightened me more than panic would have. I understand now, he said quietly. This is about balance, about cosmic order. We created a debt, and the debt must be paid. Yes, Sarah said, and for the first time there was something other than anger in her voice, something like sadness. Then let me ask you, Doctor. Harper continued, what happens to you when we're all dead? When your vengeance is complete, do you move on? Or do you remain here, trapped in your anger? Sarah was silent for a long moment. I don't know, she finally admitted. I only know I have to do this. I have to make it right. You can't make it right, Dr. Harper said gently. We can't undo what we did, and killing us won't bring you back to life. All it does is add more death to the world. You don't deserve mercy, Sarah said, but her voice wavered. No, Dr. Harper agreed. Well, don't. But you do. You deserve peace. You deserve rest. You deserve to be free of this place, this anger, this endless cycle of revenge. I saw tears on Sarah's translucent face. How? She whispered. How can I be free when you took everything from me? Be choosing, Dr. Harper said. Be choosing to let go. Not for our sake. We deserve whatever comes to us. But for yours. The room was absolutely silent. Even our breathing seemed to have stopped. Then Dr. Harper closed his eyes and simply died. Peacefully, quietly, as though he'd decided it was time and his body obeyed. Sarah stared at his body. Hachos, she said wonderingly. He accepted judgment and chose to go. Deanna was crying silently. I realized I was too. I prosecuted the inheritance case, Deanna said suddenly. After you died, your family tried to claim wrongful death, tried to sue. I'm the one who got the case dismissed. I lied to the court. I destroyed your family's last chance at justice. She looked at Sarah directly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. She didn't die. Not immediately. But she aged like Lucas had, her body moving forward through time. She became elderly in moments, then ancient. Then she simply faded away like mist. And then there was only me. I stood alone in the center of the room, surrounded by the bodies of 8 people I'd conspired with to commit murder. 8 people who'd paid for that crime with their lives. Why am I last? I asked Sarah. You were the one who actually did it, she said quietly. You put the poison in my wine. The others conspired, planned, agreed. But you were the one whose hands committed the final act. I remembered now, fully and completely. The vial Marcus had given me. The moment when everyone was distracted. Dumping it into Sarah's glass and watching as she drank, as the poison took effect, as she realized what was happening. The look in her eyes as she died, knowing we'd betrayed her, knowing she was powerless to stop it. I did it to protect myself, I said. We all had so much to lose. Our careers, our futures. I was young, I was stupid, I was terrified. But none of that excuses it. I looked at her directly. I took your life. I stole your future. And I've lived with that weight every day, even when I wasn't consciously remembering it. Have you? Sarah asked. Really? I thought about my life over the past 10 years. My careful, isolated existence. My inability to form close relationships. The nightmares I could never quite remember upon waking. The constant, gnawing sense that I was waiting for something terrible to happen. Yes, I said. I think part of me has been waiting for this moment. Waiting for judgment. Maybe that's why I came when the invitation arrived. Part of me knew. Sarah moved closer. Are you asking for mercy? No, I said. I'm asking what comes next. For both of us. She studied me for a long moment. Then she said, I don't know. I thought I knew. I thought revenge would give me peace. But Dr. Harper was right. All I've done is create more death, more pain. And I'm still here. Still trapped. What if we're both trapped? I asked. What if we've been trapped together for 10 years? You in this house and me in my guilt. And neither of us can move forward until we let go. How do you let go of murder? Sarah asked, and it wasn't accusatory. It was a genuine question. I don't know, I admitted. But maybe it starts with truth. With acknowledgement. With accepting that what happened can't be undone, but also can't be allowed to define everything forever. I felt something shifting in the room, in reality itself. The candlelight brightened, becoming less flickering and uncertain, more stable. I killed you, I said clearly. I, Isabel Crane, poisoned Sarah Mitchell and caused her death. I did it deliberately with full knowledge of what I was doing. And I'm sorry. Not because I'm facing consequences, but because you deserve to live. You deserved your life, your future, your choices, and I took that from you. I'm sorry. Sarah was crying openly now. I was going to be a nurse, she said. I was taking classes at the community college. I wanted to help people. I know, I said, though I hadn't known until that moment. You would have been good at it. I was 23 years old. I know. I didn't deserve to die. No, you didn't. We stood there, killer and victim, in a room full of corpses, while the night slowly passed. What happens now? Sarah asked finally. I looked around at the bodies, at the elegant dining room, at the whole impossible situation. I think we're all dead. We have been since that night 10 years ago. We've just been delayed, stuck between. You and your anger, us and our guilt. But now that everything is acknowledged, now that the truth is spoken, maybe we can all finally go. Go where? I don't know. But anywhere has to be better than this endless loop. Sarah looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. The candles began to go out again, but this time it felt different. Not threatening, but peaceful. Like the ending of a long, difficult day. Will you forgive me? I asked as the darkness gathered. I don't know, Sarah said honestly. But I can let you go. Maybe that's enough. The last candle flickered out. When the police found us the next morning, we were all seated around the table, apparently dead of natural causes. 9 people, all suffering simultaneous heart failures. No signs of foul play, no evidence of poisoning. Just 9 bodies and an impossible mystery. The investigation was brief. Sometimes things happen that can't be explained. The manor was searched, but no staff were ever found, no host identified. The property records led to a shell corporation that dissolved upon investigation. Eventually, the case was closed. 9 tragic deaths, 'cause unknown. But sometimes, on Halloween night, hikers in the mountains report seeing lights in Blackwood Manor. They hear sounds of conversation, laughter, the clink of glasses. They see figures moving past the windows. 9 figures, forever gathered around a table, forever working through their sins. And in the center, watching over them, is a woman in a blue dress. She's not angry anymore. She's just tired, when she's waiting for the night when she can finally rest. Story 3. I was 14 when it happened, old enough to be left alone, but young enough that the house felt too large and too quiet after dark. My mother worked nights at the hospital, 3 12-hour shifts a week, usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. By that autumn, I'd grown accustomed to the routine. She'd leave at 6 in the evening with a thermos of coffee and her badge clipped to her scrubs, and I'd have the house to myself until she returned at 7 the next morning, exhausted and smelling faintly of antiseptic. I didn't mind being alone. I'd gotten good at it. Homework at the kitchen table, microwave dinner, television until 11, then bed. The house was small, a rental in a development built in the 1970s, with thin walls and floors that creaked in predictable places. I knew its sounds, its rhythms, the way old houses breathe and settle in the dark. That Thursday started like any other. Mom left at 6 with her usual warnings. Doors locked, phone charged. Don't answer the door for anyone. I nodded through her checklist, half paying attention, eager for her to leave so I could have my dinner in front of the TV instead of at the table. I ate pizza rolls and watched a movie I'd seen before, then switched to a nature documentary about deep-sea creatures. The kind of thing that's fascinating and slightly unsettling, those blind fish and translucent shrimp living in permanent darkness. By 11, I was tired enough to head upstairs. Our house was laid out simply. Living room and kitchen on the first floor, connected by an open archway. Dining room off the kitchen, rarely used except at holidays. Upstairs, 3 small bedrooms and a bathroom. My mother's room at the front of the house, mine at the back, and between them the guest room that had slowly become a storage space for boxes we never unpacked. I brushed my teeth, changed into sleep clothes, and was in bed by 11:15. The house settled around me with its familiar creaks. I fell asleep reading a paperback I'd started earlier that week. I woke to the sound of footsteps. Not the sharp click of my mother's work shoes. She always kicked those off by the front door when she came home. These were heavier, slower, the deliberate tread of someone moving through the house without hurry. I checked my phone on the nightstand, 2:47 a.m. Too early for Mom to be home. She never left before her shift ended, and even if there'd been an emergency, she would have called. The footsteps were downstairs, moving from the living room toward the kitchen. I lay frozen, listening to them cross the floor below my room. They stopped, then started again, moving into the dining room now, judging by the change in the creaks. Maybe I'd been dreaming. Maybe the footsteps were just the house settling, or the heating system, or any of a dozen mundane explanations that make sense in daylight, but dissolve in the middle of the night. But I knew the difference between house sounds and human sounds. Someone was downstairs. I reached for my phone again, hands shaking, trying to decide whether to call 911 or call my mother first. Before I could do either, the footsteps started moving again. Not toward the stairs, toward the kitchen. I heard the scrape of a chair being pulled out from the table. Then silence. Complete, absolute silence. Not even the ambient hum of the refrigerator or the whisper of air through the vents. Just silence so profound it made my ears ring. I should have called the police then. Should have locked my bedroom door and dialed 911 and waited for help to arrive. But something about that silence pulled at me, the wrongness of it. The sense that something was happening downstairs that I needed to see, even though every survival instinct was screaming at me to stay where I was. I got out of bed, my feet finding the floor silently. My bedroom door was already half open. I never closed it all the way, a childhood habit that persisted. I crept to the landing at the top of the stairs, phone clutched in one sweating hand. From there, I could see down into the living room. The television was off. Just a gray screen reflecting the faint light from the street lamp outside. Beyond the living room, through the archway, I could see part of the kitchen. The overhead light was off, but there was another light source. Dim and flickering like candlelight, though I knew we had no candles burning. The silence continued. No footsteps, no movement. Just that strange, wavering light from the kitchen. I should have stayed upstairs. Should have called for help. Should have done anything except what I did next. I started down the stairs. They creaked under my weight, sounds impossibly loud in that silence. But whatever was downstairs didn't react to the noise. Didn't call out, didn't move, didn't run. Just waited. At the bottom of the stairs, I paused. I could see more of the kitchen now, and more of that light. It was coming from the dining room, spilling through the doorway that connected it to the kitchen. Not candlelight after all. Something else. Something that moved and shifted like light reflected off water, though there was no water anywhere in the house. I moved through the living room, my bare feet silent on the carpet, then onto the cold tile of the kitchen floor. From here, I could see through the doorway into the dining room. Someone was sitting at the table. They sat perfectly still in one of the wooden chairs we'd inherited from my grandmother, facing away from me. I could see their back, their shoulders, the shape of their heads silhouetted against that strange, moving light. They wore something dark, a coat or jacket, heavy fabric that absorbed the light rather than reflecting it. And they wore something on their head, a mask. Even from behind, I could see the edge of it, black fabric or leather that covered the back of their skull and curved around their ears. I stood in the kitchen doorway, frozen, staring at this impossible thing. This person who had entered our locked house and was now sitting at our dining room table, motionless, waiting. The light that illuminated them seemed to come from nowhere. The dining room had no windows, and I hadn't turned on any lights. But somehow there was light, and it moved across the walls like water, like shadows cast by something I couldn't see. I don't know how long I stood there. Seconds, minutes. Time felt wrong, elastic, like it does in dreams when you can't quite track the passage of moments. Then the figure moved. Not quickly, not violently. Just a slow, deliberate turn of their head, their body remaining perfectly still in the chair. The masked face rotated toward me, inch by inch, until I could see it in profile. The mask was featureless, just smooth, black fabric or leather pulled tight over the contours of a human face, but revealing nothing. No eye holes, no mouth, nothing but that blank, dark surface, and it was looking at me. Despite the lack of visible eyes, I knew with absolute certainty that whatever was behind that mask was looking directly at me, seeing me, acknowledging my presence. I tried to scream, tried to run, tried to do anything except stand there like a statue, phone still clutched uselessly in my hand. But my body wouldn't respond. Some primal part of my brain had taken over, freezing me in place the way a rabbit freezes when it senses a predator. The figure continued turning its head, slowly, until it faced me completely. Then it went still again, just sitting there. Watching through that featureless mask, the light continued to move across the walls, and in that movement, I started to see things. Shapes in the light. Faces, maybe. Or the suggestion of faces. Forms that almost looked human but weren't quite right, the proportions subtly wrong. And I heard something. Not with my ears. The silence was still absolute, but in my head, a sound like static or white noise that carried meaning I couldn't quite decipher. Like someone trying to communicate in a frequency humans weren't meant to perceive. The figure at the table raised one hand. Slowly, deliberately, it pointed at me. The gesture was almost conversational, as if we were having a discussion, and it was emphasizing a point. Then it tapped the table 3 times. The sound broke the silence like a hammer through glass. Tap, tap, tap. The sound jolted me out of my paralysis. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. My phone slipping from my hand and clattering onto the kitchen floor. I caught myself on the counter, never taking my eyes off the figure in the dining room. It had returned to its original position, facing away from me, perfectly still. As if the past few minutes, or however long it had been, hadn't happened at all. But I could still see the light moving on the walls. Could still feel that presence watching me, even though the figure's back was turned. I grabbed my phone from where it had fallen, my fingers clumsy and shaking, and ran. Not upstairs to my room where I'd have to turn my back on whatever was down here. To the front door. I fumbled with the locks. When had they been locked? I didn't remember locking them. Finally got the door open and ran outside into the November night. The cold hit me immediately. I wasn't wearing shoes, wasn't wearing a jacket, just thin pajama pants and a t-shirt. But I kept running across our small front yard, into the street to our neighbor's house. I pounded on the door, still clutching my phone, looking back at our house with its windows all dark except for that strange, moving light visible through the dining room window. Mrs. Patterson opened the door, her face creased with sleep and concern. "Honey?" "What's wrong?" "Someone's in our house," I managed to say through chattering teeth. "Someone's inside. They're sitting at our table." She didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions. She pulled me inside, wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, and called 911 while her husband went to check on our house. I sat on their couch, shaking, watching through their front window as Mr. Patterson approached our door. Tried it. Found it unlocked. Went inside. The police arrived 7 minutes later. 2 officers, both looking more alert than people should at 3 in the morning. They met Mr. Patterson at the door, talked briefly, then entered the house with their flashlights drawn. I watched from the Pattersons' living room as those flashlight beams moved through our house, room by room, floor by floor, searching for the figure I'd seen sitting at the table. The intruder who'd broken into our locked house and waited there in the dark. They searched for 20 minutes. Then one of the officers came over to the Pattersons' house to talk to me. "Son," she said, her voice kind but firm, "there's no one in your house. We checked every room, every closet, every possible hiding place. The house is empty." But I saw them. I insisted. They were sitting at the dining room table, wearing a mask. They pointed at me. "Was the front door locked when you ran out?" "Yes. I had to unlock it, and it was locked when we arrived. No signs of forced entry. All the windows are locked from the inside. Nobody could have gotten in or out without a key." "Then how?" "Is it possible you were dreaming?" she asked gently. "You said your mother works nights, that you're used to being alone. Sometimes when we're half asleep, especially if we're a little nervous, our minds can play tricks on us." I wanted to argue, wanted to insist that what I'd seen was real. But doubt was already creeping in. The officer was right. All the doors and windows had been locked. From the inside. If someone had been in the house, how had they gotten out? They called my mother at the hospital. She left immediately, arrived home 5 minutes later, frantic and worried. By then, the police had finished their search and left, satisfied that there was no immediate threat. Mom held me while I told her the story, her arms tight around me. She didn't dismiss what I'd seen, but she didn't quite believe it either. I could tell. She thought I'd had a nightmare, or an anxiety attack, or some combination of stress and late-night horror movies. We went back inside together. The house looked exactly as I'd left it. Nothing disturbed. Nothing moved. The dining room was empty, the chairs pushed neatly under the table. No sign that anyone had been sitting there. But the chair, the one where the figure had been sitting. When I touched it, the seat was warm. I jerked my hand back, but Mom didn't seem to notice. She was already leading me upstairs, tucking me into bed like I was 7 instead of 14, promising that everything was okay, that she'd stay home from her next shift if I wanted, that we'd talk to someone if I needed help processing whatever I'd experienced. I let her comfort me, but I knew what I'd felt. That chair had been warm, as if someone had been sitting in it moments before, as if they'd gotten up and left only when they heard the police cars pulling up outside, or as if they'd simply vanished. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. I lay in bed listening to Mom move around downstairs, checking locks, looking in closets, doing all the things people do to reassure themselves that their home is safe. In the days that followed, we tried to return to normal. Mom took me to a counselor, a kind woman who specialized in adolescent anxiety. I told her about the figure at the table, about the mask, about the moving light and the silence and the feeling of being watched. She listened carefully, and asked thoughtful questions and ultimately suggested that I'd experienced a hypnagogic hallucination. A vivid, dream-like state that can occur when transitioning between sleep and wakefulness. It was a rational explanation, one that should have comforted me. But it didn't explain the warm chair, didn't explain why the front door had been unlocked when I ran outside, or why I'd had to unlock it first. Weeks passed, then months. I got better at being alone in the house at night. The fear faded, replaced by teenage boredom and the usual concerns of high school life. I even started to believe the counselor's explanation. Maybe it had been a hallucination. Maybe I'd dreamed the whole thing. But sometimes, when I'm alone at night, even now, years later, in a different house in a different city, I'll wake up at 2:47 a.m. and hear footsteps. They're always downstairs, always moving toward the dining room or kitchen or whatever space in my current home corresponds to where that table was. And I'll lie there in the dark, listening, waiting to hear the scrape of a chair being pulled out. It never happens. The footsteps always stop, and the silence that follows is just ordinary silence. Not that profound. Ringing absence of sound that filled the house that night. But I never go downstairs to check. Never investigate those phantom footsteps. Because part of me, the part that felt the warmth of that chair, that saw the figure turn its masked face toward me, knows that if I did go downstairs, if I did look, I might find someone sitting at whatever table I have, facing away from me, waiting patiently in the dark. My mother and I moved out of that rental house 6 months after the incident. Not because of what I'd seen, at least not officially, but because she'd gotten a better job at a different hospital, one that offered day shifts. We packed our belongings and left, and I never looked back. But I heard things about the house afterward. Through friends of friends, through the small town gossip network that persists even after you've left a place. The family that moved in after us didn't stay long. Just 3 months before they broke their lease and moved out. Something about their teenage daughter having nightmares, waking up screaming about someone in the house. The house after that sat empty for almost a year. I looked it up once, curious, and found it listed for rent at a price much lower than comparable houses in the area. The listing photos showed rooms I recognized, that dining room table still there, pushed against the wall now. Even in the photograph, even on a computer screen hundreds of miles away, that room felt wrong to me. Too dark in the corners. Too empty in a way that suggested the emptiness itself was a presence. I closed the browser and tried to forget about it, but forgetting isn't the same as moving on. I'm 28 now, living in a city far from that small town, working a job that requires me to sometimes stay late at the office when everyone else has gone home. And on those nights, when I'm alone in the building, I'll sometimes catch movement in my peripheral vision. Just a shape, dark and still, watching from a doorway or around a corner. When I turn to look directly, there's nothing there. Just empty space and ordinary shadows. But for a moment, for just a moment, I could swear I see the outline of a figure wearing a mask. I've tried researching what I saw. Late night internet searches that probably make me look unhinged to whatever algorithms track these things. I've read about sleep paralysis and hallucinations, about carbon monoxide poisoning and psychological stress. I've read folklore about shadow people and hat men and other entities that appear in homes uninvited, watching from the dark. None of it quite matches. The figure I saw wasn't shadowy or indistinct. It was solid, real, sitting in a physical chair that was warm to the touch afterward. And it didn't just watch. It acknowledged me, pointed at me, tried to communicate something I couldn't understand. What haunts me most isn't the fear. Fear fades with time, becomes manageable, becomes just another memory of being young and scared. What haunts me is the question of intention. Why had it been sitting there? What had it wanted? Was it waiting for me specifically, or would any person living in that house have eventually encountered it? And the question that keeps me awake some nights, is it still there? I got my answer 3 years ago, though I wish I hadn't. I was back in my hometown for a funeral. A great aunt I barely knew, but family obligations are family obligations. After the service, I had a few hours before my flight back, so I drove through the old neighborhood. Telling myself I was just nostalgic, just curious, definitely not looking for that house. But of course, that's exactly what I was doing. I found the street easily. Muscle memory guided me through turns I hadn't made in years. And there it was, the rental house, looking smaller than I remembered, but otherwise unchanged. Same beige siding, same concrete front steps, same mailbox tilted at a slight angle. There was a car in the driveway. Someone was living there now. I should have driven past. Should have satisfied my curiosity with that glimpse and moved on. But instead, I parked across the street and sat there, staring at the house, looking for house something. Some sign of what I'd seen all those years ago. Some indication that the place was different, marked, haunted. It looked perfectly ordinary in the afternoon sunlight. I was about to leave when the front door opened and a woman emerged. Mid-30s, carrying a bag of trash to the bins at the side of the house. She saw me sitting there and paused, the way people do when they notice someone watching their home. I got out of the car before I could talk myself out of it and crossed the street. Sorry to bother you. I used to live here years ago. Just feeling nostalgic. She relaxed slightly.
Yeah, sure.
It's a nice house. We've been here about 8 months now. How do you like it? It's fine. Good size for the price. Something flickered across her face. Though there are some quirks. Quirks. She hesitated, clearly trying to decide how much to share with a stranger. The dining room is weird. Cold even with the heat on. And she trailed off, shaking her head. Never mind. Old houses, you know. They make sounds. What kind of sounds? Like someone walking around downstairs. My husband thinks it's just the floor settling, and it probably is. But she didn't sound convinced. She looked at me more closely. Did you ever notice anything strange when you lived here? I could have said no. Could have made polite conversation and left, and never thought about that house again. But something about her expression, the mix of hope and fear, the need to know she wasn't imagining things, made me honest. Yes, I said. Once, when I was 14, I was alone at night, and I heard footsteps. When I went downstairs, there was someone sitting at the dining room table. Wearing a mask, her face went pale. A black mask. My heart started pounding. Yes, how did you? My daughter saw it. 3 weeks ago. She came downstairs for water and saw someone sitting at the table in the dark, wearing a black mask. We thought it was a nightmare, but she was so insistent, so specific about the details. The woman's hands were shaking slightly. She's been having trouble sleeping since then. Keeps her light on all night. Did you call the police? Yes. They searched the house, found nothing. Same as they probably did for you. She looked at the house, and I saw fear in her eyes. Real deep fear. What is it? What's in there? I don't know. But I don't think it wants to hurt anyone. If it did, it would have by now. Then what does it want? That was the question, wasn't it? What does a presence that sits silent in the dark, wearing a mask, waiting to be discovered? What does something like that want? Maybe just to be seen. I said quietly. To be acknowledged. Maybe that's enough. She didn't look comforted. We're breaking our lease. We can't afford to lose the deposit, but we can't stay here either. Not with my daughter afraid to sleep. Not knowing that thing is down there, sitting at our table, wearing that mask. I understand. For what it's worth, it only happened to me once. Just that one night. Maybe it won't happen again. But even as I said it, I knew I was lying. It would happen again. Because whatever was in that house hadn't left in 14 years. Hadn't been driven out by sage burning or prayers or locked doors or police searches. It was still there, still sitting at that table, still waiting. We talked for a few more minutes, me trying to offer reassurance I didn't feel, her trying to convince herself that moving was the right decision. Then I drove away, watching the house shrink in my rearview mirror until it disappeared. On the flight home, I thought about that conversation. About the woman's daughter, who'd seen the same thing I'd seen 14 years earlier. About all the people who'd lived in that house between us. All the families who'd moved in and then moved out, driven away by something they couldn't quite name or explain or fight. And I thought about the figure itself. The one in the black mask who sits at tables in the dark, pointing at the people who discover it, tapping 3 times before becoming still again. I've developed a theory over the years. It's not scientific. It's not rational. But it's what makes sense to me when I wake at 2:47 a.m. to phantom footsteps. I think the figure at the table is waiting for something. Or someone. I think it's been waiting for a very long time, possibly longer than that house has existed. And I think it will keep waiting, keep appearing to anyone who's alone in that house at night, keep sitting at that table with its masked face and its patient, silent presence. What's it waiting for? I used to think it was waiting for the right person, someone who would understand, who would be able to communicate with it, who would give it whatever it needed to finally leave or rest or move on to wherever things like it go. But now I think it's simpler than that. I think it's waiting because waiting is what it does. Because sitting at tables in the dark, wearing a mask, pointing at frightened people, that's not a means to an end. That's the purpose itself. That's what it is. And if that's true, then it will never leave. It will sit at that table for as long as the house stands, appearing to everyone who's brave or foolish or unlucky enough to go downstairs when they hear those footsteps. It will point at them with that slow, deliberate gesture. It will tap the table 3 times. And then it will wait for their response, for their terror, for their flight into the night. Because maybe, in whatever way such things can feel satisfaction, that's what satisfies it. Being discovered, being feared, being the reason people run screaming into the cold, the reason families break leases and leave behind deposits and flee to safety. Or maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe it's waiting for someone specific, someone who will sit down at the table instead of running, someone who will reach up and remove that mask and see what lies beneath. I know it's not me. I knew that the moment I saw it turn its face toward me. Whatever it wanted, whatever it was looking for, I wasn't it. That pointing gesture wasn't an invitation. It was an identification, a marking, a way of saying I've seen you now. You're one of the ones who knows I'm here. And once you're marked that way, once you're one of the ones who knows, you can never quite forget. Even in houses it's never visited, even in cities hundreds of miles away, you'll sometimes feel it watching. You'll wake at 2:47 a.m. and hear those phantom footsteps and know, with absolute certainty, that something is sitting at a table somewhere in the dark, wearing a mask, waiting. I don't live alone anymore. Haven't for 5 years. My partner thinks I'm paranoid about home security, the way I check locks multiple times before bed, the way I sometimes wake in the night and have to walk through our entire apartment, turning on every light, making sure all the chairs are empty. I haven't told them the full story. How do you explain something like that to someone who's never experienced it? How do you make them understand that some fears aren't irrational, that sometimes the things we're afraid of in the dark are real? But I think they suspect something. They've never asked about the dining room table I refused to buy when we were furnishing our apartment, or why I insist on leaving the kitchen light on all night, or why I sometimes wake them at 2:47 a.m., reaching across the bed to make sure they're there, that I'm not alone. Because that's what scares me most now, after all these years. Not the figure itself, but the question of what happens if it appears when I'm alone again. Not in that old rental house, but here, in my own home, in the city where I thought I was safe. Will it be sitting at our small breakfast table, masked face turned away, waiting for me to discover it? Will it turn toward me with that slow, deliberate movement? Will it point at me again, acknowledging that I'm one of the ones who knows, one of the ones who's seen? And if it does, if I walk into our kitchen one night and find it sitting there, will I run like I did before? Or will I finally find the courage to ask it what it wants? To sit down across from it and meet its gaze through that featureless mask and demand answers to questions I've carried for 14 years? I don't know. I hope I never have to find out. But late at night, when sleep won't come and the apartment is too quiet, and I can hear every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind against the windows, I sometimes wonder if it's inevitable. If being marked means being claimed. If seeing it once means seeing it again and again and again, until eventually you're the one sitting at a table in the dark, waiting for someone else to discover you. Because maybe that's what happens to the people who encounter it. Maybe they don't just run and forget and move on. Maybe slowly, gradually, they become like it, sitting in the dark, wearing masks, waiting. Maybe that's what it's been trying to show me all along. I'm 28 now, sitting at a table in the dark, writing this down. My partner is asleep upstairs. The apartment is silent except for the sound of my fingers on the keyboard and the tick of the clock on the wall. It's 2:47 a.m., and I just heard footsteps coming up the stairs. I should go check, should make sure my partner is okay. Should turn on the lights and look and confirm that the footsteps are just the building settling or my imagination or anything except what I fear they might be. But I'm afraid if I look, I'll see it standing in our bedroom doorway, masked face turned toward me, hand raising slowly to point. And I'm afraid that this time, when it points, I'll understand what it's been trying to tell me all these years. What it wants, what it's waiting for, why it chose me that night when I was 14 and frightened and alone. I'm afraid I'll finally understand. And I'm even more afraid that understanding will change me in ways I can't undo. The footsteps have stopped. They're right outside my study door. I can feel something there, patient and still, waiting for me to turn around and look. I'm going to post this now, before I lose my nerve, before I turn around, before I see whatever is standing behind me in the dark. If you ever find yourself alone in a house at night, and you hear footsteps moving toward the kitchen or dining room, and you feel compelled to go investigate, don't. Stay in your room. Lock your door. Wait for morning. Because some things, once seen, can never be unseen. Some presences, once acknowledged, never quite leave. And some masks hide truths that are better left unknown. The door handle is turning now, slowly, deliberately. The same way the figure turned its head to look at me all those years ago. I'm going to turn around. I have to. Because whatever is opening my door wants me to see it. Needs me to see it. And I think I've always known it would come back. That seeing it once was just the beginning. That being marked means being claimed. That eventually, everyone who encounters it ends up sitting at a table in the dark, wearing a mask, waiting. I'm turning around now. I'm looking. And I finally understand. Story 4. It's been raining for 6 days straight. Not the gentle kind of rain that makes you want to curl up with a book and hot tea. This is insistent rain. Aggressive rain. The kind that hammers against windows and turns streets into rivers and makes you forget what sunlight looks like. I'm walking home from work, 3 blocks that feel like 3 miles. My umbrella is useless. The wind keeps inverting it, turning it inside out like a broken bone. I've given up. I'm soaked through, my coat heavy with water, my shoes squelching with each step. The rain is so loud that I can barely hear my own thoughts, which is why it takes me so long to notice the footsteps. At first, I think it's just my own echo bouncing off the buildings. The street is narrow here, lined with old brownstones, the kind with deep doorways and iron railings slick with rain. Sound does strange things in spaces like this, but then I stop to adjust my bag, and for just a moment I hear them continue. 1, 2 steps more than they should. I turn around. The street behind me is empty, just rain falling in sheets, distorting everything. The streetlights create halos of amber light that make the rain look solid, like I'm walking through curtains of light and water. I can see maybe 30 feet before everything dissolves into gray. I start walking again. The footsteps resume, mine, and something else, a half beat behind, matching my rhythm but not quite. Like a partner in a dance who's always slightly out of sync. I walk faster. The footsteps walk faster. I stop. They stop. Not immediately, a fraction of a second late. Long enough for me to notice. Hello? I call out. My voice sounds small against the rain. Ridiculous. Like shouting into the ocean and expecting a response. Nothing answers. Just the rain. The eternal, endless rain. I'm being paranoid. That's what I tell myself. 6 days of constant rain will do that to you. It gets into your head. Makes everything feel ominous and strange. Makes you forget that the world is just the world. Ordinary and explicable. But I don't believe myself. I can feel something behind me. Not see it, not hear it clearly, but feel it. The way you can feel someone staring at the back of your neck. The way you know you're being watched even in a crowded room. I turn down Harrison Street, thinking I'll take the long way home. More people that way. More lights. Except there are no people. The rain has driven everyone inside. The shops are closed, their windows dark. I pass a coffee shop I frequent, Betty's Place, with its chipped blue paint and crooked awning. Inside, the lights are on, but I can't see anyone. Not the owner. Not customers. Just empty tables and chairs waiting. The footsteps behind me never waver. I risk another glance over my shoulder. This time, I see something. Not a person exactly. More like a space where the rain falls differently. A density to the air. A place where the water seems to part around an absence. I blink, and it's gone. Just rain again. Endless rain. My apartment is still 2 blocks away. I should run. Every instinct screams at me to run. But something stops me. Some knowledge that running might trigger something. That the thing behind me, if there is a thing behind me, might be waiting for me to run. Might want me to run. So I walk. Steady. Deliberate. Each step measured. Even as my heart pounds so hard I can feel it in my teeth. Left on Brewster Avenue. 1 more block. The rain is coming down harder now, if that's even possible. It's difficult to breathe. The water is everywhere. In my nose, my mouth, my eyes. I'm not walking through rain anymore. I'm swimming through it. Behind me, the footsteps continue. Closer now, I think. Though it's hard to tell, the rain makes everything close. Everything immediate. I pass Mrs. Chen's laundromat. Through the steamed-up windows, I can see washing machines spinning, though the place looks closed. Round and round, clothes tumbling in circles, hypnotic and endless. No one is watching them. No one is there to put money in the slots or transfer loads to dryers. But all the machines are running. I don't stop to wonder about this. I can't afford to stop. My building is ahead. The yellow brick facade looks almost golden in the streetlight. I can see my window on the 3rd floor. The light is on. I don't remember leaving it on. I always turn off lights. Waste of electricity. Waste of money. But it's on, glowing warm and inviting, and I've never been so grateful to see my own window. I reach the steps leading up to the front door. My keys are in my pocket, and I'm fumbling for them, my fingers numb with cold and fear. The footsteps behind me have stopped. I don't turn around. I don't look. I just fumble with my keys, and they slip from my fingers and clatter down the concrete steps. No, I whisper. Please, no. I have to go down to get them. I have to turn my back on whatever is behind me. I have to kneel down in the rain and reach for my keys. And while I'm doing that, whatever has been following me will be there, standing over me, and I'll look up and see. What will I see? I don't want to know, but I need my keys. I take a breath. The rain fills my lungs. I turn and descend 2 steps, keeping my eyes on the ground. My keys are there, half submerged in a puddle that's formed in a crack in the concrete. I reach for them. My fingers close around cold metal, and I see the shoes, black shoes, standing on the sidewalk at the bottom of the steps. Not sneakers, not boots. Dress shoes, formal, old-fashioned, the kind with pointed toes and laces. They're perfectly dry. The rain falls around them, but not on them. It's like there's an invisible umbrella, a small dome of dry space, and in that space stand those black shoes. I don't look up. Something tells me not to look up. Some deep, primal part of my brain that knows there are some things we're not meant to see. Some things that break us just by being perceived. You dropped your keys, a voice says. It's not loud. It shouldn't be audible over the rain, but I hear it clearly. It's right next to my ear, though the shoes are 10 feet away at the bottom of the steps. The voice is wrong. Not the accent or the tone. Something more fundamental. It's like someone speaking backwards, or speaking with a mouth that isn't shaped quite right. Like an approximation of human speech. Thank you, I say, because what else can I say? I got them.
It's very wet.
The voice observes. It's been raining for 6 days. Yes, I agree. My hand is shaking so badly that the keys jingle. It will rain for 6 more days. And then 6 days after that. 6 is an important number. Did you know that? 6 days to create a world. 6 feet to bury a body. 66 books in the Bible, if you count the right translations. 666. I'm moving backward up the steps slow. Careful. The shoes don't move, but somehow they seem closer. Or maybe there are more shoes. Maybe I'm seeing double through the rain. Maybe there have always been 2 pairs of black shoes, and I'm only noticing now. I have to go, I say. My voice sounds thin, childlike. Of course, the voice agrees. You're very wet. You should go inside. Dry off. Make some tea. You like tea, don't you? Chamomile at night. You say it helps you sleep. Though you haven't been sleeping well. Not for 6 days. How does it know that? I haven't been sleeping well. I lie awake listening to the rain, feeling like I'm drowning even in my own bed. But I've never told anyone that. I've barely admitted it to myself. Who are you? I ask. There's a pause. The rain intensifies, becomes almost solid. I can barely see the shoes now, just dark shapes in the water. I'm the one who walks behind, the voice says. I'm the space between your footsteps. I'm the shadow that the rain casts. I've been following you for a very long time, longer than 6 days. But you only noticed 6 days ago, when the rain started. Rain makes people pay attention. Rain washes things clean, reveals what was always there. I'm at the top of the steps now. My back is against the door. I have my keys. I just need to turn around, unlock the door, get inside. But I'm frozen, staring at those impossible shoes. Why? I managed to ask. Why are you following me? Because you asked me to, the voice says, and now it sounds sad. Genuinely sad. A long time ago, you were lonely. You were afraid of being alone. You said. You probably don't remember, but you said. I wish someone was always there, always watching, always with me. And I heard you. And I came. I don't remember saying that. But I might have. On a lonely night years ago. A throwaway thought. A desperate wish. The kind of thing you say and forget immediately. Except someone didn't forget. Something didn't forget. That's not what I meant, I whisper. I know, the voice says. But it's what you said. Words have power. Wishes have weight. You called, and I answered. And now I'm here. Always here. In the rain and in the sun. In the day and in the night. I'm the footsteps behind you. The presence in your peripheral vision. The feeling that you're never quite alone. I want you to stop, I say. Please, I want you to leave. I can't, the voice says simply. That's not how this works. You opened a door. Doors don't close so easily, but don't worry. You'll get used to me. Most people do. After a while, you'll forget I'm here. You'll forget what it felt like to be truly alone, and maybe that will be better. Maybe that's what you always wanted. The shoes move. One step forward. The rain still doesn't touch them. I fumble the key into the lock. My hands are shaking so badly it takes 3 tries. The lock clicks. I push the door open and stumble inside. I'm in the hallway. The familiar hallway with its faded carpet and yellowing wallpaper. Safety. Home. I turn to close the door, and I see the figure on the steps. I see it for just a moment. Just a fraction of a second before I slam the door shut. Long enough to see that it's not a person. Not exactly. It's shaped like a person. It has the right number of limbs, the right proportions, but it's made of rain. Or maybe it's made of the absence of rain. It's hard to explain. It exists in the negative space, in the places where the rain should be but isn't. And its face. I don't want to think about its face. I slam the door and lock it. All 3 locks. The deadbolt, the chain, the regular lock. My hands are still shaking. I'm breathing hard, gasping, like I've run a marathon. From outside, I hear the voice one more time, muffled by the door but still clear. I'll be here when you come out tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that. For as long as it rains, for as long as you live. You're never alone now. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that exactly what you wanted? I slide down to the floor, my back against the door. I'm crying now. Or maybe it's just the rain still dripping from my hair, my face, my clothes. I'm so wet that I can't tell the difference. The rain pounds against the building, a steady, relentless rhythm, and beneath it, or within it, I hear footsteps, walking away. Walking in circles, walking nowhere and everywhere, always there. I sit there for a long time. The hallway is cold, my clothes are soaked. I should go upstairs, change, get warm. But I can't move. I'm afraid that if I stand up, if I walk to the stairs, I'll hear those footsteps behind me again. Inside the building now, following me through hallways and upstairs and into my apartment. Because it's right. The door I open doesn't close easily. Maybe it doesn't close at all. Eventually, I force myself to stand, to climb the stairs, to unlock my apartment door and step inside. I don't hear the footsteps. Not yet. But I feel the presence. That certainty that I'm being watched, that I'm being followed. I change into dry clothes. I make tea. Chamomile, it helps me sleep, supposedly. I sit on my couch and hold the hot mug and listen to the rain. And I think about tomorrow, about walking to work, about the 3 blocks that feel like 3 miles, about the footsteps that will be behind me, matching my rhythm, always a half, beat off, about the next 6 days, and the 6 days after that, and all the days beyond, stretching into a future where I am never alone. The rain will eventually stop. That's what I tell myself. Weather changes, storms pass, but I don't believe it. I think this rain will last forever. I think it's here specifically for me, for us. Me and my follower. Me and the thing I called into being with a careless wish on a lonely night. I drink my tea. It doesn't help. I don't think anything will help now. Outside my window, the rain falls, and in the rain, I see a shape, standing on the street below. Looking up, those black shoes planted firmly on the wet pavement. That impossible figure, made of water and absence. Waiting for morning, waiting for me to come outside, waiting with infinite patience, because it has nothing but time, because I gave it a purpose, because it will follow me forever through rain and sun, through day and night, until I finally understand that being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Being accompanied by the wrong companion is worse, much worse. I close the curtains and turn off the light. In the darkness, I hear the rain. And beneath the rain, barely audible, I hear breathing, patient, steady, waiting. Tomorrow, I'll have to go outside again. Tomorrow, I'll walk those 3 blocks. And tomorrow, those footsteps will be behind me. They'll always be behind me now. That's what I wished for, after all. Someone always there, always watching, always with me. I got exactly what I asked for. The rain continues to fall. Story 5. The laundromat on the corner of 5th and Marshall stays open 24 hours. I've always found that strange. Who does laundry at 3 a.m.? But I've never questioned it too deeply. Some things in a city just are. You accept them the way you accept pigeons and potholes and the smell of hot garbage in summer. Tonight, I have a reason to be grateful for those strange hours. I spilled an entire glass of red wine on my white shirt. The only clean shirt I had left. I have a job interview tomorrow. An important one. The kind that could change my life. So here I am at 12:15 a.m., pushing through the glass door of Clean Slate Laundromat. A garbage bag full of stained clothes in my arms. The bell above the door chimes. It's a bright, clear sound. Too bright, too clear. It seems to hang in the air longer than it should, echoing off the tile floor and fluorescent lights. The place is empty. Not just empty of people, that I expected, but empty in a way that feels wrong, like someone just left, or like someone is about to arrive. The air feels expectant, waiting. There are 12 washing machines along the left wall, 12 dryers along the right. Front, loading, industrial. The kind that can handle heavy loads, that shake and rumble when they run. But they're all silent now, still, like animals holding their breath. At the back of the room is a counter with a change machine and a vending machine selling detergent packets and fabric softener. Above the counter, a clock. Its second hand moves with audible clicks. Tick, tick, tick. I approach the nearest washing machine. The door is slightly ajar, like an invitation, or like someone just finished using it and forgot to close it. I pull it fully open. The drum is clean, spotless. It even smells clean, like lavender and bleach and something else. Something underneath, something sweet and rotting. I load my clothes Add detergent from the vending machine and feed quarters into the slot. 8 quarters. $2. The machine accepts them with metallic clicks that sound like teeth. The digital display lights up seely. I choose no RML and press start. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the machine hums to life. Water begins to fill the drum. The door locks with a definitive thunk. Through the round glass window, I watch my clothes begin to tumble. White shirt, dark jeans, gray socks. Round and round, mixing with the water, becoming one indistinguishable mass. I should sit down. Wait, there are plastic chairs arranged near the front window. But I don't want to sit. Something about this place makes me want to stay on my feet. Stay alert. The machine hums. The water sloshes. My clothes tumble. And then I notice the other machines. They're starting too. Not all at once. One at a time. The machine to my left clicks on. Water fills it, though there are no clothes inside. Just water, sloshing in an empty drum. Then the one next to it starts. Then the one next to that. Within 2 minutes, all 12 washing machines are running. All of them empty except mine. I tell myself there's a logical explanation. Maybe they're on a timer. Maybe they run a cleaning cycle automatically. Maybe I just happened to arrive when they were scheduled to run. But I don't believe myself. The machines aren't running cleaning cycles. They're running wash cycles. Different cycles. I can hear it in the rhythm. Some are on delicati, some on HEAVUY, some on CLD, some on CHT. They're all running different programs as if they all have different loads. As if they all have different owners. But there's no one here. Just me. I should leave. This is clearly some kind of malfunction. Or maybe I'm more tired than I thought. Maybe I'm hallucinating. But I can't leave. Not yet. My clothes are washing. I need that shirt. I need it clean and white and perfect for tomorrow. So I wait. I lean against the folding table in the center of the room and watch the machines work. All 12 of them, churning and spinning, filled with water and nothing else. Except, I lean closer to the machine 2 down from mine, squint through the round window. There is something in there. Not clothes. Something else. Something pale and thin and moving with the current. Like fabric. Like skin. No, not skin. Cloth. It's cloth. Of course it's cloth. What else would be in a washing machine? But I can't see it clearly. The water is too soapy. The motion too fast. I move to the next machine. Peer through its window. Yes, there's something in that one too. Something dark. Something with buttons. A shirt maybe. Or a jacket. I check the next machine. And the next. All of them have something inside. All of them are washing something I can't quite see, can't quite identify. My phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out. A text from my roommate. Where are you? It's late. I type back laundromat. Spilled wine. Needed to wash before tomorrow. 3 dots appear. Then, which laundromat? The one on 5th and Marshall. A longer pause this time. Then, that place is closed. Has been closed for 6 months. They're renovating. I look around. The fluorescent lights, the running machines, the ticking clock. This doesn't look closed. This doesn't look like renovation. I type, no. I'm inside right now. It's open. No response. I wait. The 3 dots don't reappear. I call her. Straight to voicemail. I try again. Same thing. I look at my phone. The signal bars are full. I have a connection. But I can't reach anyone. The machines continue to run. The water continues to slosh. And now I hear something else. Beneath the mechanical sounds, beneath the water sounds. Voices faint, distant. Coming from the machines, or coming from the water in the machines. I can't tell which. I approach the machine directly next to mine. Press my ear against its metal side. Yes, definitely voices. Multiple voices, talking, whispering. Not words I can make out, just the rhythm of conversation. The cadence of communication. I pull back. This isn't real. This can't be real. I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm imagining things. But the voices continue. I check my machine. Mine is still running normally. Through the window, I can see my clothes. My actual clothes. My white shirt going round and round. The wine stain is still visible, a dark blotch on white fabric. The machine has 14 minutes left on its cycle. I should wait it out. 14 minutes. Then I can transfer my clothes to a dryer, dry them, and leave. 14 minutes isn't long, but the other machines, they're accelerating. The hum is getting louder. The water is moving faster, and through the windows I can see the shapes inside becoming more defined, more real. In the machine 2 down from mine, the pale thing unfolds, spreads out against the glass. It's a dress, a white dress, old-fashioned, with lace at the collar and cuffs, the kind a woman might have worn 100 years ago, or the kind she might wear at her wedding, or in her coffin. In the next machine, the dark thing with buttons reveals itself, a suit, black, formal, complete with a tie that floats in the water like a severed finger. In the next machine, children's clothes, small and bright and cheerful. A yellow shirt, red shorts, socks with cartoon characters. I'm moving down the line now, looking in each machine. Each one contains clothes, complete outfits, arranged as if someone is wearing them, as if the person has been dissolved and only their clothes remain. The last machine in the row shows me something I don't want to see. The water is running red, not pink like diluted blood, deep red, wine red. And in that red water, a white shirt tumbles, exactly like mine. The stain spreading, growing, consuming the entire garment until it's completely red. I look at my machine. My shirt is still white with a dark stain. This other shirt, it can't be mine, but it looks exactly like mine. Same brand, same size. Same cut, 12 minutes left. The voices from the machines are louder now, clearer. I can almost make out words. They're not speaking English. Or maybe they are, but backwards. Or in code. Or in a language that only exists in water and soap and the space between the wash and rinse cycles. The clock on the wall clicks. Tick, tick, tick. But the second hand is moving backwards, or I think it is. I blink, and it's moving forward again. Or maybe it never stopped moving forward. Maybe I'm the one moving backwards. A figure appears in the reflection of the front window, behind me, standing near the dryers. I spin around. No one is there, but one of the dryers is running now, its drum tumbling. Through its round window, I can see clothes. Dry clothes. They look familiar. They look like the clothes from the washing machine with the red water. A white shirt, now dry, now perfectly clean. No stain at all. The dryer stops. The door clicks open, just slightly. An invitation. 10 minutes left on my washing machine. I should check my clothes, see if the stain is coming out. But I'm afraid to look. Afraid of what I might see in that round window. Afraid that my clothes might not be clothes anymore. Might be something else. Something that looks like clothes but isn't. The laundromat is colder now. I can see my breath. Frost is forming on the inside of the windows. In June, in the middle of a heat wave that's had the whole city sweating for weeks, my breath comes out in clouds. And in those clouds, I see shapes, faces, brief and fleeting, there and gone, but definitely there, definitely faces, watching me, waiting to see what I'll do. The machines are all spinning in sync now, all 12 of them, the same rhythm, the same speed, like a heartbeat, or like breathing. Like the building itself is alive, and these machines are its organs, processing something, cleaning something, preparing something. 8 minutes left. The voices resolve into words. Finally, I can understand them. It will come clean, they're saying. Everything comes clean, eventually. in time, in water, in heat, that never ends. What comes clean? I whisper. Everything, the voices answer. The stains, the memories, the lies, the truth, all of it. We wash it all. That's what we do. That's what we've always done. Who are you? We're what's left, the voices say. We're the residue, the part that doesn't come out, the stain that sets. We're the permanent press, the permanent soak. We're the cycle that never completed. We came here to get clean, and we never left. I look at the clothes in the machines. Really look. And I see them now. Not just clothes. People. The shape of people. The absence of people. Each outfit holds the memory of someone who wore it. Someone who came here, put their clothes in a machine, and never took them out. Who became part of the water, part of the soap, part of the endless cycle. 6 minutes left. My machine shudders. The water drains with a gurgling sound. The spin cycle begins. Through the window, I watch my clothes pressed against the drum, water extracted, wrung out, purified. The stain is gone. My shirt is perfectly white again. Perfectly clean. Too clean. Unnaturally clean. The kind of clean that erases everything. Not just the stain. The whole history. The whole identity of the fabric. Like it's been reset to zero. Like it's never been worn. Like it's waiting for someone new to claim it. The other machines finish their cycles, one by one. The water drains. The drum stops spinning. Silence falls. And then the dryers start. All 12 of them. Empty like the washing machines were empty. But running. Tumbling. Hot air forcing its way through the drums, evaporating what little moisture remains. My machine beeps. CYCLE come. The door lock clicks open. I should take out my clothes. Transfer them to a dryer. Finish the job. But I can't move. Can't reach for that door. Because I know, somehow I know, that if I open it, if I reach into that drum, I'll find more than just my clothes. I'll find myself. Or what's left of myself. The part of me that came here to get clean. The part that wanted to wash away the stain, the mistake, the flaw, the part that wanted to be perfect for tomorrow's interview. Perfect and clean and acceptable. But perfection has a cost. Cleanliness has a cost. And the cost is paid in the spin cycle, in the extraction, in the removal of everything that makes you you. The clock strikes 1 a.m. A single chime that I didn't know this clock could make. The fluorescent lights flicker. For just a moment, I see them, the people, the owners of the clothes, standing by their machines, translucent, fading. But there, a woman in a white dress, a man in a black suit, a child in yellow and red, dozens of them, hundreds maybe. All of them waiting for their cycles to complete. All of them waiting to be clean enough, pure enough, empty enough. They look at me. Their eyes are hollow. Their mouths are open, or trying to welcome me. I can't tell which. My phone buzzes. Another text from my roommate. Please tell me you're okay. Please come home. I type, I'm coming. But I'm not sure I am. I'm not sure I can. The dryer that opened earlier, the one with the white shirt, clicks. The door swings fully open now. Inside, the clothes are perfectly folded, perfectly dry, perfectly ready, waiting to be worn by someone. Anyone. Someone who needs them. Someone who wants to be clean. My washing machine beeps again. Insistent, impatient. Remove, yes. The display flashes. Rumvasoda start and our CLE. As if the machine has preferences. As if it wants something. I take a step toward it. Then another. My hand reaches out. My fingers touch the door handle. It's warm. Too warm. Like flesh. Like something alive. I pull open the door. The drum is dark inside. I can't see my clothes. Just darkness. Deep and complete, I reach in. My arm disappears into that darkness up to the elbow. I feel around. The drum seems larger than it should be. Deeper. like it extends back farther than the machine itself. My fingers touch fabric, wet fabric. I grab it. Pull. It's heavy. Heavier than my clothes should be. Like they've absorbed more than water. Like they've absorbed weight. Gravity substance from somewhere else. I pull harder. The clothes emerge. My white shirt. My jeans. My socks. All perfectly clean. All dripping with water that shouldn't still be there after the spin cycle. The water that drips from them is clear. But when it hits the floor, it spreads. And in that spreading pool, I see reflections. Not of the laundromat, not of me. Of other places, other times. A bedroom, a street, an office. Moments from my life. Moments I wanted to forget. Moments I tried to wash away. The stain wasn't just wine. It was everything. Every mistake. Every regret. Every part of myself I wanted to remove. And the machine didn't just wash the clothes. It washed me. It extracted parts of me along with the stain. And now those parts are in the water on the floor. And in the machines. And in the voices that whisper from the pipes and the drains and the endless cycles. Join us. The voices say, stay, keep washing, keep cleaning. Until there's nothing left but the pure white fabric. Until you're clean enough for whatever comes next. I drop the clothes. Back away. My shoes slip in the water. I catch myself against the folding table. The other machines are opening now. All of them. Doors swinging wide. Dark drums beckoning. Empty spaces that want to be filled. I run, grab the door handle. Pull. It doesn't open, locked. But how? It wasn't locked when I came in. There was no lock. Just a door that opened when I pushed it. I pull harder. Bang on the glass. Let me out. My voice echoes. Or maybe that's not an echo. Maybe that's all the other voices, all the people who came before me, all saying the same thing. Let me out. Let me out. The clock reads 1:11. All ones. The lights flicker again. When they steady, the laundromat looks different. Older. The machines are rusty. The floor is cracked. The ceiling is water-stained. This place is exactly what my roommate said. Closed. Abandoned. Under renovation. But the machines are still running. Still waiting. Still hungry. My phone has no signal now. The battery is draining, 87%, 72%, 51%, falling like seconds on a clock. I should never have come here. Should never have spilled that wine. Should never have cared so much about being perfect and clean and presentable. Should have worn a stained shirt to the interview. Should have been honest about my flaws. But it's too late for should-haves. The door behind me opens. I didn't hear it. Didn't hear the bell chime. But it's open now, and someone is standing there. Or something. It's shaped like a person. But it's made of fabric. Of clean white fabric that ripples in a breeze that doesn't exist. Its face is smooth. Featureless. Like a shirt that's been washed so many times the design has faded away completely. Your cycle isn't complete, it says. Its voice sounds like my voice, like all voices, like the voice you hear in your head when you talk to yourself in the dark. You need to dry. You need to fold. You need to put yourself away, clean and fresh and ready for next time. Oh, no, I say. I'm leaving, I'm going home. You are home, it says. This is where you belong now, with all the others. With all of us who wanted to be clean, who wanted to be perfect, who wanted to erase our stains. It reaches for me. Its hands are soft, like cotton, like clouds, like nothing at all. I duck past it. Through the open door, out into the night. The street is empty. The city is silent. It's still 1:11 a.m. The clock on the bank across the street confirms it. 1:11. The numbers glow in the darkness. Will it ever be 1:12? I run. 3 blocks. 4. My apartment building appears in the distance. Safety. Home. Escape. But I can still feel it. The dampness of my skin. The chill of water that wasn't there. The weight of clothes I'm not wearing. And I wonder, did I escape? Or am I still in the washing machine, tumbling in the darkness, waiting for the cycle to complete? I reach my building. My key works. The door opens. I climb the stairs. My roommate's door is closed. I want to knock. Want to wake her. Want to tell her everything. But I don't, because I can smell it. Lavender and bleach and something sweet and rotting. The smell is on me, in me. Part of me now. I go to my own apartment. Lock the door. 3 locks. As if locks can keep out what's already inside. In my bathroom, I look in the mirror. I look normal. Same face. Same eyes. Same person. But when I blink for just a fraction of a second, I see myself differently. See myself through a round glass window, tumbling in water, round and round. My phone buzzes one last time. A text from an unknown number. Clean Slate Laundromat appreciates your business. Your loyalty points have been applied. Return anytime. We're always open. We're always waiting. We never close. I block the number. Delete the text. Turn off my phone. But I know I'll go back. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe not for weeks. But eventually. Because now I know the secret. That stains don't come out. They just move. From fabric to water. From water to pipes. From pipes to somewhere else. Somewhere deeper. Somewhere that's always hungry. And once you've fed that hunger, once you've given it something to clean, it never forgets you. It never lets you go completely. It waits, patient. In the cycles and the spin and the endless tumbling dark. Waiting for you to need it again. Waiting for you to get dirty. Waiting for you to remember that being clean comes at a cost. And the cost is always higher than you think. I lie in bed, close my eyes, and I swear I can still hear them. The machines running in the distance, in the night, in the space between sleeping and waking, washing, rinsing, spinning, forever. And with that, our time tonight comes to an end. To everyone who stayed until the very last moment, thank you, truly. Having you here, sharing these shadows, makes the darkness feel a little less empty. I'm grateful you chose to spend a piece of your night here with me. I hope these stories brought you that quiet shiver, the kind that makes you feel alive. There's something special about this, all of us, connected by the love of a good story whispered in the dark. I'll be back soon with more echoes from the void, more mysteries waiting to be told. Until then, rest well, sleep deeply, and if you hear footsteps that shouldn't be there, just remember, they're only stories. Oh, and before you drift off, if you enjoyed our time together, a like and a subscribe will make sure we meet again, somewhere in the dark. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.